My dear fellow medical science students, picture this. It's 11 a.m. and you're watching your professor endlessly drone on about physiology. It's your third lecture in a row, and you sigh as you begin to realize your professor has gone over 15 minutes past the recording shut-off mark. You've been here for over 3 hours, and yet it feels like you've learnt nothing. Sound familiar? Well, we've all been there. And that feeling of learning nothing? It wasn't just a feeling. How can you be expected to learn anything when it's delivered in such a disengaging way? But if that's the case, how is it there's always that group of students that seems to effortlessly learn everything? Just how do they do it? Well, chances are they've learned to harness mobile technologies to engage with content more efficiently than you. This digital guide to mobile learning will demystify all of their secrets, and it will allow you to effortlessly learn and leap ahead of your competition. In here, you will learn about the rising global prominence of mobile devices, their impact on the developing and developed world, and how you too can harness the best scientifically proven educational approaches using 5 mobile technologies to evolve your learning to the next level. Are you ready? Let's go. Mobile devices are truly an astonishing technology. With the advent of 2G technology onwards came internet connectivity for mobile devices. Thus, what began as a family of devices for making calls and sending messages has very quickly evolved into something with so many features for communication, leisure and education that most people in our developed world can't go a day without their smartphones, something that's reflected in the penetrance of mobile devices worldwide. Indeed, in 2017, mobile devices accounted for 51.1% of total web traffic, while analysts expect that by 2020, more than 5 billion phone users will be worldwide, with majority of these being smartphones. That's an estimated growth of around 12% in just 2 years. The global penetrance of mobile devices is thus on a definite upward trend, and it's easy to see why when we consider the trending methods of mobile learning that are increasingly enabling people to learn anywhere at any time. These developments in mobile learning have improved the general accessibility of education in developing countries through the breaking of cultural and social barriers, Kenya being an excellent example. That being said, there is a growing inequity between the sophistication of education provided by mobile learning in the developing world and the developed world. This is because of a dilemma between affordance and affordability. Affordances in mobile learning refer to the functional properties of the mobile device, which in this case allow for more sophisticated learning. Examples include cameras, apps, and types of internet connectivity. Meanwhile, affordability refers to an individual's ability to gain access to mobile devices based on their income. These two properties are inversely proportional. That is, a smartphone with more affordances will prove to be much less affordable than a feature phone, which is basically a phone and that's it, with less affordances. And therein lies the inequity I mentioned earlier. Since smartphones with many affordances require a much larger percentage of one's income in the developing world, the trend is towards feature phones with low affordance being much more popular than smartphones in developing countries. As time goes on, this disparity in affordance could end up widening the gap in education even further, which we should be mindful of. As students living in Australia, a developed country, we should not waste our opportunity and use the affordances to which we have access to expedite our learning. But what approach is best? Remember the story about the boring professor from earlier? In that example, you were the learner and he was the teacher, passively transmitting knowledge to you using the oldest educational approach, information transmission. It's a view of learning that sees one person as the knower and the learner as an empty vessel waiting to be passively filled with knowledge. The main problem with this view is that it oversimplifies knowledge and that it's inadequate for generating the critical thinking skills students such as ourselves will need in medicine. In my experience, the best educational approach is a social constructivist approach, which involves actively engaging with materials and ideas by collaborating together with peers to solve authentic problems. Unlike information transmission, I believe this develops critical thinking by constructing your knowledge through lived-in experience instead of passive knowledge transmission. Unfortunately, the catch is that sophisticated educational approaches like social constructivism require much more affordances in mobile devices compared to simple information transmission, which is also why the gap is widening between the developed and the developing world. As there are times and situations where you might have to make do with information transmission approaches and nothing else, I've also included some effective mobile learning technologies to make that process a bit less painful than listening to your professor. So, here's a quick guide to 5 ways mobile learning can help you. Please pause for more detail as I'm running out of time. So we have ebooks, applications, mind mapping, AR and VR. Please pause the video for my references and please pause the video for my feedback. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.